Okay. All right. So, and here we go. Okay, so these are the research essay guidelines for our research essay. Will be due. All right. So the research essay is due November 20th. Okay. It is due at 12:30 p.m. As with anything in this course, late papers will not be accepted. And we know that this essay counts 30% of your final grade. And I really call it an essay more than a paper because it's only 3 to 4 pages. Okay, right. Now, what are we doing? Okay, so the objective, the student will produce an original research essay on the comparison and contrast in the tactics and philosophies of activists Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. Now, when you watch the typing guidelines, it will take you through how to do a thesis statement. Okay. So, when you're approaching this paper, you can't do everything in 3 to 4 pages. Okay. So, you're comparing and contrasting MLK and Malcolm X. You're not doing everything. All right. You're picking a couple things to compare and contrast, probably like 3 or 4 things. Okay. Um, as with anything else, I am suggesting that you do not choose things from the internet. Okay. I'm suggesting that you be original. Um, choose more important things. Okay. You're looking at their tactics and philosophies. So you can talk about like how they grew up and how that shaped their worldview. But again, you only have 3 to 4 pages, so you don't want to talk too much about that. Okay. All right. Um, now, again, it's only 3 to 4 double-spaced pages. You want to use a professional font, so something like Aptos, Calibri, Times Roman, Arial, something like that. Now is not the time for Comic Sans or Chiller or the like. Okay. The hardest part of this is going to be the fact that you have to use endnotes or footnotes. Endnotes or footnotes, the same thing. The only difference is one is at the bottom of the page and one is at the end of the paper, but before the bibliography. It's called the Chicago style, and it's what historians do. This is a history class, which is why I teach it. You are probably more familiar with APA or MLA because that's what's taught um, in your English classes. And those citation methods are more popularly used. Um, still, you're in college, and that's why I don't get the big bucks. Okay, one of my former students was applying to be a writing tutor at the writing center. I hope that she got the job. She does know how to do um, the Chicago bibliographic style. That's what it's called. Um, Hopefully Dr. Becker hired her. Uh, it, Whether he did or did not, it's not a problem because I have put the style manual on reserve at the library. We're going to get to that in just a second. And I also provide a tutorial in the folder. If you've already looked at the folder, maybe you've already seen it. But we'll get to that in just a second. So let me just go ahead. All right, so the papers need to be uploaded through the corresponding Blackboard Turnitin link. Turnitin is a plagiarism software tool. Papers will be assessed for their authenticity. The papers will not be returned. The student will receive a completed rubric with the graded value and evaluation. And it's like your homework. So y'all are kind of used to that. Now, your rubric is more involved than your homework rubric because it's a paper. Your homework is not that difficult. Um, so your paper is a little more involved than your homework, and so your rubric is also more involved than your homework rubric. But okay, no worries. Please don't stress over this. Okay, it's this class. Woosah. Okay, woosah. um, Artificial intelligence, except for use as grammar assistance, is not allowed for this assignment. Okay, so obviously, if you're using Word as your word processing software, you know, um, it has Copilot. If you're using Grammarly or something like that, that's fine. Oh, excuse me. But if you are telling Chat GPT to write this paper, that is not fine. Okay. All right. So as I mentioned before, the style manual is on reserve in the library. I also provide a link for it on Blackboard in case you're allergic to going to the library. But the library is your friend. Okay. Um, you can refer to Mary Lynn Paula's The Pocket Guide to Writing and History. You can refer to Kate L. Turabian's The Manual for Writers of Term Papers, Theses, and Dissertations. Either edition, the 8th or 9th edition, they don't change very much for the clarification on proper citation form. Now, just FYI. So let me show you these manuals. Ugh. Yep, I can pull them right out. Okay. So these are very user-friendly manuals. That's why I say let me show them to you. All right, so this is the Rampala. See, then very user-friendly. All right. This is the Turabian. Little thicker, but still very user-friendly. Both of these are condensed versions of and this is kind of called like the writer and editor's Bible. This is the Chicago manual style. All right. Not thin. Okay. Mine is used a lot. All right. So what I'm asking you to use once again is very user friendly. All right. It's meant to be. It's for students. Okay. So it's easy to follow, and that's done on purpose. Okay. All right. So I beg you, I implore you, I cannot say it any other way. In fact, I require that you please please use the Writing Center or Brain Fuse, okay, for assistance with this assignment. Please, 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 because you want to do the best that you can. And why not take advantage of the tools that Bowie State University offers? So BrainFuse is an online tutoring service, okay? It does have a writing lab attached to it. Before we used BrainFuse, we used, it was called Smart Thinking. So I went to like a like a a tutorial session for smart thinking. I've never been invited for one for brain fuse, so I have absolutely no idea how brain fuse works. But for smart thinking, the tutors, you can set up an appointment with a tutor in the writing lab, and you submit your paper, and then the tutor looks at your paper and usually provides feedback within 24 hours. Okay. So your paper is due on a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. It's like the Thursday before Thanksgiving. You can't give the tutor your paper like that Wednesday and expect to get it back in time to turn it in at 12:30, okay, that Thursday. So you want to take advantage of the service if you're using BrainFuse. So you just need to plan ahead. You can't wait till the last minute with something like that. Now, for the Writing Center, offers both in-person and virtual appointments. A lot of assignments are due that week before Thanksgiving. So appointments tend to fill up. And you can make follow-up appointments. Neither the Writing Center nor BrainFuse online tutoring is going to write this paper for you. They're not going to know the content at all. What they can assist you with is they can assist you with like helping to outline. They can assist you, with telling you, if you have a strong thesis statement. They can assist you with, whether or not your paper flows correctly, with proofreading, things like that. That's what they can help you with. They're not going to write the paper for you. Okay. What I can assist you with, if you want to shoot me your thesis statement, I can assist you with that. I'm not going to write a thesis statement for you. I can look at your footnotes or endnotes and tell you if you're doing those correctly. I cannot pre-grade your essay. So this is not an English class. So I cannot pre-grade your essay because I can only grade these once. Okay. But those are the things that I can look at. Okay. All right. Now I will be asking if anybody has questions on the essay from now until when they're due. Okay, so the required minimum sources. Now, I provide sources for you. Technically, you can write this essay from the sources that I provide for you. However, again, you're in college and we have to teach you something. Something. All right, so therefore, you have to find some things on your own. Okay, and I've put in for a library orientation. So hopefully one of the research and reference librarians will come in to our class and show you how to find these things. Okay, so in addition to the sources that I give you, okay, you need to find 2 more books and 3 scholarly journal articles. All right. Scholarly journal articles, not magazine articles, not newspaper articles, but scholarly journal articles. And what a scholarly journal is that's a journal. Like I've published articles in a scholarly journal. Many of your other professors have as well. And those are journals that experts publish in. Okay, so people who have expertise in a certain discipline, in a certain subject. Now, it's not to say that somebody who's writing for a magazine or somebody who's writing for a newspaper, that that person does not have expertise in that subject. It's just that when you're publishing in a journal, the people who are publishing that journal typically are very well trained in that subject matter. And then they are reading the articles that are submitted to that journal um, and picking the best ones. I have been, like right now, with everything else that I have to do, um, I've been asked to um, review an article submitted to a journal. And I just got a reminder that that article is due in a few days. So I need to do that as well. Okay. Um, and it's in one of my areas of expertise. So that's why you have to look at scholarly journal articles. Okay. Not magazine articles. Okay, not newspapers, but scholarly journal articles. And the librarian will talk to you about those. All right, now internet sources sites are not acceptable sources for this project unless specifically noted by the professor for inclusion. The student may use electronic resource available at the library, e.g. online journals, electronic books, things like that. Obviously, um, you know, we'll be getting an orientation session on how to access those things. So those can be used, okay? Now what do I mean by internet sources sites? Okay, I love the internet, okay? It's a wonderful thing. But you all need to learn how to do real research too, and not just Google something and accept the first thing that comes up, okay? Um, things are programmed on with algorithms. So the first thing that comes up often is it comes up because it's paid for. Doesn't mean that it's the most relevant thing. And when you do scholarly research, you have to do what? You have to analyze. Okay. And so sometimes you have to crack open a book or a journal or something like that, a primary source, something. Okay. So the goal here is to get you to critically think and also for you to learn how to do scholarly research. And in whatever career or job that you are training for, this will be useful. You'll be surprised. All right, we're almost finished. So coming in. All right, so required books. You see it says unreserved in the library. See course reserves catalog. Now, you only have to pick one. You see it says the autobiography of Martin Luther King Jr. It says, or Martin Luther King Jr. One is by Claiborne Carson and Martin Luther King Jr. The other is by VP Franklin. So you're picking one of those, not both, just one. Now, you're finding two books on your own. So if you pick the autobiography of Martin Luther King Jr., that does not mean that you then can turn around and pick the book by VP Franklin as one of your other books. There are too many books written on MLK. All right. So go find a different one. All right. So you're picking one of those books, and then you're picking the autobiography of Malcolm X. All right. Then you're finding two other things on your own. Okay. Now, audiovisual materials. These are also reserved in the library. Okay, they're actually on DVDs. You're like, oh my God, what is that? Okay. Um, and they have players that you can play them on down in the media room. Okay. So, but I also provide them in link and MP4 form on Blackboard too. All right, so you can watch them that way as well. Once again, okay. Okay, you are watching one of these documentaries, either Citizen King or biographies, Martin Luther King Jr., The Man in the Dream, and Malcolm X, Make It Plain. So one of the MLK documentaries and Malcolm X, Make It Plain. Just like you're reading one of the King books and the autobiography of Malcolm X. You're watching one of the King documentaries and the Malcolm X documentary, Make It Plain. Okay? You're not watching everything. You're picking. Okay, I'm giving you a choice. Okay, these required documents, they are on Blackboard. Some of these are like a couple pages, like 1 or 2 pages, so don't, freak out if they're looking at these things, okay? They're meant to show the comparison and contrast in the various thoughts, philosophies, and tactics of MLK and Malcolm X. Lo and behold, isn't that the assignment? Okay. Like I said, you could write the paper from the stuff that I give you, but you have to learn how to do research, and that's why you're finding some things on your own as well. Now, what students usually ask, because you have to cite material, and when you cite material, you are not only citing quotations, direct quotes, you are citing also paraphrase material. So remember, it says that you're not supposed to use internet stuff. You're not supposed to use it, but if you do get something from the internet, you need to do what? You still need to cite it, okay? Students have often asked when I give them their essay assignment, oh, Dr. Brown, how many, citations should we have? I have no idea how many citations you should have, okay? I do know that much of this information will be new to you. And so a good rule of thumb is to have at least one citation per paragraph. Now there's something that's called general knowledge. And general knowledge is something that you can find like in an encyclopedia, something that in most works about a subject, you encounter that information about them. So like, the birth dates of MLK and Malcolm X, like where they were born, basic information about them. You don't have to cite that because that's just like all over the place. Okay. But like I said, things that will be new to you, you should cite the source where you get that information. Also, you will need to do a bibliography for this essay. I provide the sources for the bibliography for like the audio visual things and these documents that I provide for you. I give you the sources, okay? Sometimes I give them to you in note form. Sometimes I give them to you in bibliographic form. So if I give them to you in note form, then what should you do? You should take it and then change it over to bibliographic form and vice versa. All right. Because you have all the information to do either one. What else was I going to say about that? Oh, the other question that I always get is, oh, Dr. Brown, do I have to use all the sources? Okay. Now I'm going to say this 100 times because I'm going to get this question 100 times from now until when the paper is due. It all depends on your thesis. I'm going to be able to tell how much research you did for this essay. It's going to depend on your thesis statement, like I said. Okay. You can do this paper from the sources that I gave you. But again, you have to learn how to do research, which is why you're finding some of the things on your own. Now, regardless of how many things that you directly quote from or paraphrase from, everything that informs the research will be listed in your bibliography. We are not doing a works cited page, which many of you are probably used to. We are doing a bibliography. Okay. And bibliography includes everything that informed your research. So everything that informed your research would be what? All your required documents. Okay. Your required documents, all the things that you looked through before you started writing your essay. And again, for all these documents that I provide for you, I give you where they came from. So I do almost everything except write the paper for you. Can't do that. Almost, not quite. Like I said, you all will ask me that question. I will answer it. Sometimes might say, well, go back to the orientation video. I think I also say something very similar in the typing guidelines video, because that's how often I get that question. Okay. And this is the last slide. Okay. So more of the required documents. Like I said, all of these you either have access to on Blackboard and or in the library. Okay. So as I mentioned, I take questions on this. I will start asking, does anybody have any questions in class from now until it's due? Okay, thank you. I'm taping this very late at night or very early in the morning, however you define the time. So I apologize because I'm very tired and it probably shows. Thank you. Bye-bye.